Along the Road by Jessica O'Sullivan. Beatrice hugs a coat tighter around herself as she steps off the train. The air is frigid, colder than she expected for December, and her breath forms small clouds in the twilight. The station is chaotic, filled with frustrated passengers and shouts from railroad workers. The train tracks are frozen, they're saying. The bitter cold has made it impossible for the trains to continue, and her heart sinks as she hears the news. She just wanted to get home for Christmas, to leave the stress of college behind and feel the warmth of her family again. Attention, passengers! Buses are being provided to take you to your destinations. A man's voice crackles through the loudspeakers. Beatrice lets out a sigh of relief and joins the line of people heading towards the waiting buses. It's getting dark, and the thought of standing in the cold much longer makes her shiver. When she reaches the buses, she is surprised to see most of them already full. She is directed to the last bus in the line, and when she steps inside, she realizes she is the only passenger. The driver, an older man with graying hair and kind eyes, turns to her and gives her a nod. "Welcome aboard," he says with a gentle smile. "I am Theodore. Looks like it's just you and me tonight." Beatrice returns the smile, grateful to be out of the cold. "I'm Beatrice. Thank you for driving us. I mean me," she says, taking a seat near the front. The bus roars to life, its headlights slicing through the darkness as it navigates the winding road. The countryside surrounds them, expansive and shrouded beneath a starless sky. The road winds through fields and small forests, the sort of scenery that always makes Beatrice feel as though she entered a storybook. "Heading home for Christmas, I take it?" Theodore asks, his voice breaking the silence that has settled over the bus. Beatrice nods, leaning back in her seat. "Yeah, college has been, well, a lot. I'm really looking forward to just being home for a while. No classes, no headlines." She lets out a long breath, the stress easing just a little. Theodore chuckles softly, his eyes focused on the road ahead. "I remember those days. Everything feels so big and important, and sometimes it really is. But there's nothing quite like going home, is there? It's like a little piece of the world that stays just the same, waiting for you." Beatrice looks out the window, watching the snowy fields blur past. "Yeah, that's exactly it. It's comforting, to think that there's something that doesn't change." Theodore nods. "Home is like that. A place that holds memories where you can feel safe. Sometimes it's the one thing that keeps us going, knowing there is somewhere to return to." Beatrice smiles, her eyes softening. "You sound like you've done a lot of traveling." Theodore chuckles, his eyes twinkling. "Oh, you could say that. I've been all over seen a lot of places. But funny enough, it's always the small towns, the little stops along the way that stay with me the most. The people, the stories. Everyone's on their own journey, but somehow our paths cross for a reason." Beatrice tilts her head, intrigued. "Do you believe that? That people meet for a reason?" Theodore smiles, a faraway look in his eyes. "I do. I think sometimes we're put in each other's paths to help, even if it's just for a short while. Life has a funny way of bringing people together, especially when they need it most." Beatrice nods thoughtfully, letting his words sink in. "I guess that's true. I mean, I was really worried about getting home tonight, but now I don't feel so worried anymore." She glances at him, her expression for grateful. "Thank you for that." Theodore glances over at her, his smile warm. "You're very welcome, Beatrice. Sometimes all we need is a little kindness to remind us that things will be all right." Beatrice shifts in her seat, intrigued by Theodore's voice. "You must have so many stories to tell," she says. Theodore smiles, a twinkle of nostalgia appearing in his eyes. "Oh, I've seen a fair share of wonders, and I met some interesting characters along the way. There was one time, many years ago, when I was driving through a little mountain town. I picked up a young couple who had just married. Their car had broken down, and they needed a lift to their cabin. They were laughing despite the cold, and I remember how they spoke about their dreams, all wide-eyed and hopeful. They made me realize that no matter where we are, it's people that make the place feel alive. Beatrice leans forward slightly, her gaze locked on Theodore as he continues. And then there was a time in a small village up north, Theodore adds, his voice warm with recollection. There was an old man named of Elmer. I had driven him a few times. One day he got on my bus with nothing but a bouquet of flowers. He told me he was going to apologize to someone he hadn't spoken to in years. He was nervous, but also hopeful, like he'd finally found the courage he'd been waiting for. I never did find out how it went, but something about the way he stepped off that bus, like a weight had lifted, stuck with me. I guess we're all just trying to find the courage to say what we need to say in our own time. That's really beautiful, Beatrice says quietly. It's funny the way you talk about these people. It feels like they're right here, like you're carrying them with you somehow. Theodore nods, his eyes soft. Maybe I am. I think that's the beauty of meeting people, even just for a short while. They leave a mark. You remember their laughter, their stories, their bravery. And maybe, just maybe, you carry a piece of them with you on your journey. It's what makes every road feel a little less lonely. Beatrice looks out the window, the countryside blurring past under the moonlight. I think I understand, she says. Sometimes the small moments, the little kindnesses, end up meaning the most. Theodore smiles, a gentle look in his eyes. Exactly, Beatrice. It's those moments that remind us we're never truly alone. There's always someone out there sharing the road with us, even if just for a little while. They lapse into a comfortable silence, and Beatrice feels lighter, the stress of the day fading away. Theodore's voice settled deep in her heart, like a warmth she didn't know she needed. Eventually, the lights of her town appear in the distance, and Theodore turns the bus toward a small train station where her dad is supposed to pick her up. He pulls the bus to a stop, and Beatrice stands, slinging her bag over her shoulder. Thank you, Theodore, she says, her voice sincere. I'm really glad I got on your bus. Theodore smiles, his eyes crinkling at the corners. It was my pleasure, Beatrice. You take care of yourself now and have a Merry Christmas. She steps off the bus, the cold air biting at her cheeks once again. She watches as the bus drives away, its red tail lights disappearing into the night. The station is quiet, the only sound the crunch of snow beneath her boots as she walks to the waiting area. Her dad's car pulls up a few minutes later, and she waves revealed to see him. He steps out, wrapping her in a warm hug. There's my girl, he says, his voice full of love. Sorry I'm late. Roads are a bit slippery tonight. It's okay, Beatrice replies, climbing into the car. The bus driver was really nice. His name was Theodore. He kept me company on the way here. Her dad pauses for a moment, his brow furrowing as he looks at her. Theodore, he repeats, his voice quiet, almost disbelieving. What did he look like? Beatrice frowns, confused by the sudden seriousness in her dad's tone. He was older, with gray hair, really kind. Why? Her dad swallows, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. B. When I came home from Vietnam, a bus driver named Theodore picked me up. He drove me from the train station to town because of an electric issue with the trains that day. I never forgot him. He was just like you said. Kind, calm. He shared his stories about the Korean War. It was like he knew exactly what to say to make me feel less alone. He glances at her, his expression a mix of awe and something else, something like wonder. But B. Theodore passed away years ago. A chill runs down Beatrice's spine, her eyes widening as she looks out into the darkness. The buzz and the conversation feel different now, like something from a dream. But he was There, she whispers, her voice barely audible. He was real. Her dad reaches over, giving her hand a gentle squeeze. Maybe he was, he says softly. Maybe he just wanted to make sure you got home safe, like he did for me. They drive in silence for a while, the snow-covered landscape stretching out around them. Beatrice thinks of Theodore, of his gentle smile, the warmth in his voice, and though she can't explain it, she feels a sense of peace settle over her. Maybe some things, some people, stay with us even after they're gone. Maybe they are there when we need them most. As they pull into the driveway, the lights from the house glow in the cold night. Beatrice smiles. Merry Christmas, Dad, she says, her voice filled with gratitude. Merry Christmas, Bea, he replies, his eyes shining as they step out of the car and make their way inside the warmth of home wrapping around them both. This is one of the stories from my collection called Winter Tales that you can find on Amazon, both as a paperback and as a Kindle. And happy holidays, happy winter, and happy new year. Thank you so much for listening.